Testament Studies and Reformation History. He is a graduate of the Boston University School of Theology and Duke University. Together with Dr. Siddiqui and Dr. David Grodis, he authored the book, The Abraham Connection, published by Crossroads Books of Notre Dame, Indiana. Without further ado, I present to you Dr. Gross.
I'm very pleased to be here, and I seem to be addressing largely Muslim audiences lately. There was an event at UCLA in the fall. Dr. Siddiqui was my colleague in that, along with Dr. Bonowi in Halifax and Dr. Elliot Dorff. My wife studied at Long Beach State for a time when I was a pastor in Long Beach. And my destiny has been to be a college chaplain and then begin to work with Jews, Christians, and Muslims. Dr. Siddiqui has been my friend, my dear friend and colleague for almost 20 years. And Dr. Dorff has been with us now for almost 6. And I'm also remembering some conversations I had with Dr. Eisenman that's almost 20 years ago as I were reminiscing beforehand. The matter of Jesus in a dialogue is to listen to the community of Jesus. The dialogic way of looking at material is to listen. Listen to each point of view, and particularly to listen to the community which lives by its faith and its practice. And so I'm sharing with you tonight what you won't get unless you go to church, because it's not necessarily studied in an academic setting. But so you may have something of a sense of the pulse of the Christian church and the relationship between the Christian community and Jesus Christ. I bring to certain things. Many Christian Protestants in particular think that the worship in Christianity is based on the preaching. And that's been a strong tradition in the Reformation churches of the Lutherans and the Calvinists and then the Methodists and the Baptists and the Episcopalians and the Congregationalists. But in fact, must be too close to this. In fact, the culmination of Christian worship is in the Eucharist, the Lord's Supper, the Holy Communion. Those are all terms for the same thing. It's called the Eucharist in the more Catholic tradition churches because of certain words that Jesus said in his Last Supper with the disciples. It comes from the Greek word Eucharistein, which means to give thanks. Whenever Christians gather and celebrate the Eucharist or Holy Communion or the Lord's Supper, the words of institution are read. The Apostle Paul has one form, and there are other forms of the same words, essentially, in the Gospels. The Apostle Paul writes, "And I deliver unto you what I have received, that the Lord Jesus, in the same night in which he was betrayed, took bread. And after he had given thanks," see, that's where the Eucharist comes in, "he broke it and gave it to the disciples, saying, This is my body broken for you. In the same manner he took the cup, saying, This cup is my blood of the new covenant. Drink ye all of it. For as often as ye eat this bread and drink this cup, do it in remembrance of me. For in so doing, you will proclaim the Lord's death till he come." Now, an awful lot of Christian faith is contained in those few words. Each of the Gospels has what has been called the kerygma, that is the message. It may be that the message, the kerygma, was the first form of the gospel, followed then by the events of Jesus' life prior to his last days and also then his teachings. So the message is sometimes also called the passion narrative. Passion in its early meaning means suffering or agony. And this has to do then with Jesus' last days, when he made his way, first of all, triumphantly to Jerusalem, in what the Christians have termed Palm Sunday, and then after several days in the Holy City, during which he gave teachings, and also during which he cleansed the temple, he then went to pray in the Garden of Gethsemane with his disciples. They fell asleep.